Hi and welcome to Lincolnshire Fenn Crafts needle felting tutorials for beginners. I'm going to do a tutorial today on how to wool wrap wire. Now I get a lot of requests about how to use wire armatures. I personally like to use wire for, say, the legs, for something that needs posing, for stability, or to create a nice shape. I tend not to use full wire armatures because I find them a bit I like a firm felt, so I'll tend to make a body and then I'll do wire for the legs, say for the sheep, and add those in, and I find that a much easier way of working. And I think if you're new to needle felting as well, it's a much better way just to get used to wrapping the wire, and then maybe look at full armatures later on. But for me personally, I like just working with part armatures, just to add some really nice detail or dimension, and stability. If you're working on a much bigger piece, you may need some stability there, and that wire really helps. Okay, so I use two things. Basically I use floristry wire, which is the really thin, I think that's about 1/2 mil thickness, and it's paper wrapped. And the reason I like it paper wrapped is because the wool sticks to it really well, holds really well, and you don't need to use any wax. I just get really messy with wax, and I can't bear using it, and it just doesn't seem to work for me, so I tend to not use it unless you're making tiny little fingers and toes, and then you are going to need something. But don't even, don't even look at that yet. Get this, get the basics together, and then you can look at your tiny fingers and toes. But even the most well-seasoned needle felting artists really, have tears and tantrums still over little tiny fingers and toes. So don't sweat it. Don't worry about that. And then the other thing that is really good for wool wrapping are pipe cleaners, but the pipe cleaners with the cotton covering, and the wool, as you can see with the sheep legs I have here. They don't look like sheep legs, but I can promise you they are. It sticks really well again. So I think today I'm going to show you how to wrap using the pipe cleaner. And remember, these are the cotton ones, not the chenille ones, because they're quite slippery. I like to use the cotton ones, like the proper tobacconist ones. And the wire one here is really excellent for the flamingo legs, because as you can see, they're very thin, and it also works really well for the neck, which I have there. But anyway, pop that to one side. So I am going to use, and I like to use this when I'm wool wrapping, I'm going to use wool top, and I'm using a white Jacob wool top, because you get the really nice long lengths of wool that you can continually wrap round, and I find the batting tends to pull apart, and it's not as easy to really sort of tug and get it nice and thin. So I'm going to use a nice long wool top. I'm going to split that even further, because you really only do need a very small amount. Now I make 2 legs at once, so these are going to be 2 legs that I'll just then cut in half, because it's easier to get them looking pretty much the same. So that's how I like to do it. So you just pop your wool on the end there, and you can see if you hold the wool close and pull, it won't pull apart. So make sure when you're wrapping, you're actually keeping that nice and close to the pipe cleaner. So just wrap the end round, bring it up a bit further. Just until it's got a purchase on the pipe cleaner, and then just go down the pipe cleaner, just wrapping, and go over the end, because the ends are going to be a bit thicker. These are the feet, so if you're doing this, say, for a sheep, these will be the, are they hooves? Do you call them hooves on sheep? I don't know. I'll have to find that out now. We'll call them feet. So then you've got that on there, and then all you do is you just continue to wrap round. If the legs are going to be really chunky, then you could, of course, start with more wool. Just continue to wrap round all the way. We'll pop another layer on this, but we're just going to wrap it round all the way down to the end. And if you see, we've not even picked up a felting needle yet. We don't need to. And see how that's just holding really nicely. Just go to there. Doesn't matter if you haven't got quite enough, we can come back to that. And then just move it around with your fingers, and what you're doing there is you're actually matting that wool. You're sort of lightly felting it just so it sticks. And can you see how that holds onto the pipe cleaner? Because we've got that nice cotton covering underneath and the wool just seems to stick to it really well. So then you've got your first covering on. So we'll come back, we'll do it again, and this time we've got it's a little bit thicker, and then just pop it on the end again and just wrap it round, and this time we're just going to hold it there and we're going to felt. And this is where you need to be careful with your needle, because it can get quite expensive if you start breaking your needles here. Push down the side of the wire that you're using, don't felt on top of it. Use your needle, just go slowly. You're not trying to felt quickly here, you're just trying to get it to hold, just to tack it on. And just keep pulling that away from your pad. And don't worry about any loose bits, because we're going to smooth all that later. So that's tacked on there nicely. Okay. So we can see that's holding. And then just get the position that you're comfortable in. I'll probably go this way, that's it. And then you can actually just turn and keep the wool moving, and then stop every so often and just use your needle again, just pushing down the side. You don't want to hit that wire, or if you do, you don't want to hit it hard. This is quite a tough needle. It's a 38, and then just keep turning, keep your fingers on that wool close and tight to the pipe cleaner. See there, and then again. Don't worry too much about this middle bit, because this is all going to be covered up if you're doing a sheep. You won't see it, and also we're going to cut it in half. And then just keep turning again till we get to the end. And let it go over the end, let it overhang, keep turning, keep turning, keep turning. Can you see how that's thickening up now? And then before we get it to stick, just pull away any loose bits. Hold it there. Be careful of your fingers. And just felt down the edge, down the side of where the wire is. It gets easier as less fiddly as it gets a bit thicker, and then just bring that excess wool back up. There. And you can see that's starting to build up nicely. Go to where the end is, and it'll feel quite soft, and you want it to overhang the wire, because what we don't want is we don't want to see the wire protruding through. So then just with your needle flat, just push any loose soft wool in so that it felts. Be careful of your fingers here, but if you put your finger flat and just push down the side, you should be okay. Can you see how that's tidied up? Got a little bit of dark wool on there. I should have cleaned this before I started. And then you see here we've got this loose bit at the end. That's okay. Just fold it over, grab hold of it with your needle, and then just be careful of the wire still. And that's it. And then just to what is really good with this is that you can really firm it up by rolling it in the palm of your hand. So lay it down and then just roll firmly, and you'll feel it getting warm. And see how it smooths the wool out. Same down this end. And see how that's nice and smooth, and it takes out any lumps and bumps. And what you can also do is put a lot of more pressure just where the base is here, and that will thin out that area just above where the hoof is going to be. And there's a slight anomaly here. You can see that's slightly thicker, so just take a really thin piece of wool, just a little piece like so, and just wrap around again like you did before, and then come back up and felt until it holds. Again over the end. Doesn't need to, and keep it moving because we don't want it to stick into the wool fibres to catch hold of the mat. There we go, and then you can just, you see all these loose bits, you can trim them, but also before that I would just again give it a gentle roll in your hand, because immediately that takes a lot of that up. And I wouldn't bother trimming that, I'd be quite happy with that. There we go. So that is one pair of legs once that's cut through the centre. So trim them, not with it, cut them in half with snippers, not your best scissors. There through the middle, and if they're still a little bit long, so let's say this is your sheep body, and let's say so these are going to be your legs. So you would then pop your leg there, take a little bit of wool, because this is all going to be hidden on this anyway, and just use your wool, your fresh wool that hasn't been cut, to hold that leg in position. And again, make sure you're going down the side of the wire. And you continue to do that. And you can build up the leg to give it more shape. Again, you keep adding just little wads of wool. Because when you get your curly wool on top of this, if it's a sheep that you're doing, you won't actually see this. But even if you're doing that on, say, a hare, the same would work here. So if we bent that and say it was a foot, you could do exactly the same for the hare, but just make sure that you keep the top really, really thin, hardly, in fact, no wool there at all, and then just a nice thin layer of wool just to cover where they actually join. So you can see how that works as well, and you can see how I've built the feet up on this, and how neat you're able to get it, and that's a really long leg without it becoming floppy, so it's nice and stable, and it gives it a really, really nice shape. So there you go. You can see how that's going to be one set of legs, and you do the same for the other one. And the good thing about this as well is that if one's longer than the other, it doesn't matter, because you can just move it up or down the body. Same with most things. When you're needle felting, you can change the positions. And then when you get your wool on, you won't actually see where they're even sat. And then here I've done the same with Twiggy the piggy. Same with the legs there, and then I've also done the same with the tail, and then I've wrapped that tail around a chopstick, around a chopstick to give it that nice twizzle, and again firm it up in the hands. And also, as you can see here, the flamingo legs, they're done on the wire, but they would still work perfectly well on the pipe cleaners. And then with this one, I've done a little, I've just curled it at the top and put some tape around it, and then that actually is what you stitch to the base of your flamingo. And you can see here I've put this on a nice plinth, and I've just made some waves with some wool tops, different colours, and I've stuck it to the plinth because it means that I can actually have it standing in that really cool sort of traditional sort of position that you see flamingos in photographs, with that leg up, and that works really well. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that, and hopefully now you'll be ready to try adding some wire to your projects. Thanks for joining me.